All right, shalom. It's the brother Michael Ward from GMS Lake Charles Camp, coming at you again with another video through the Spirit. But before I do anything, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahushua, by Hashem, Kakadash. Double honor to the elders and the apostles of the great millstone who strive and taught us this truth. And blessings to your brothers across the winds pushing this truth with sincerity. All right, the title of this video, is going to be called, What If Some Did Not Believe? Because a lot of people, are not going to believe what the prophets are out on the highways and byways and speaking, and just because these people don't believe doesn't mean that you're not preaching the correct doctrine, that you're not preaching, the correct words of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, man. Just because they don't believe doesn't mean, stop preaching. Just because these people don't believe doesn't mean, throw the towel in. We have to keep going. So what if they don't believe? This is Ezekiel chapter 3 and verse 17. It says, Son of man, I have made thee a watchman into the house of Israel. Therefore, hear the word at my mouth and give them warning from me. And that's what we're doing. We're giving these people, the warning from Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, man. And as we give that warning, we're going to have people, plugging their ears up, not trying to hear, because they don't believe, what the prophets are out here speaking, And just because they don't believe doesn't mean stop. Keep giving that warning, because it's going to come upon a time when Yahushua makes their return. Everybody is going to get, a reward according to their works, And if you've been doing the things that's pleasing unto Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, man, your reward is going to be deliverance, getting that kingdom of heaven, But if you didn't believe, your reward is going to be that destruction, getting hit with them ICBM missiles, man, This is Romans chapter 3 and verse 3. It says, For what if some did not believe? Should their unbelief make the faith of the Most High without effect? No, man. Just because you don't believe what the prophets are out here doing, what the prophets are out here saying, doesn't mean these things are not going to come to pass, man. The words that the prophets are out here speaking, was given to them from the Lord, man. And they are faithful and true. So we're going to begin, Salaki. We're going to continue to speak these words, man, no matter if you believe or not, because everyone has to get the warning. The scriptures say this word is going to be preached throughout the four ends of the earth, and then the end shall come. So everybody is going to get the warning, man, So when Yahushua makes their return, you can't say, you didn't know. You can't say, I never heard this, I never heard that, because this word is everywhere. A lot of people hear the word and they be like, well, they've been saying this, they've been saying that. Oh man, they've been saying this since I was a kid, But the things that the prophets are out here speaking, this word has been going out for a long time, man. Giving that warning. Everything is going to happen, when it's set to happen. At that time right there, maybe it wasn't meant to happen right then and there, but it's coming. This is Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 3. It say, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, So people be like, oh man, they've been saying this, they've been saying that. Right there in that moment, it wasn't time, But that time is approaching us, It's approaching. It say, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come to pass, man. So a lot of people, saying, oh, these things are not going to happen, it's going to happen, man. Just wait for it, You're going to see everything that the prophets been out here saying is true, that they wasn't lying, that the Lord was really dealing with these men, Because the prophets, before Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua come with that destruction, he always have the prophets, giving that warning. Just like in the time of Noah, he had them giving that warning, man. He had Noah, giving that warning. Let me get out of here, man. Salakia. He ass pulled up on my car like he wanted something. Let me move around. But just like the time of Noah. You know, before the flood came, he had them giving that warning. But the earth have never been flooded before. So therefore the people didn't believe, you know, and they was bullshitting just like in these upcoming times, you know, partying, you know, giving into marriage, so on and so forth. And they're going to do this today. That's why they're going to get caught like a thief in the night, man. You know, just like when Noah, he was giving that warning. Likewise today with the prophets, we are out on the highways and byways giving that same warning. You know, this is Proverbs chapter 1 and verse 24. It said, because I have called and ye refused, I have stretched out my hand and no man regarded. Right, man? How is the Lord calling? You know, through his servants, the prophets. You know, the Lord is not going to come down here and talk to you, you know, himself. The Lord always spake by the word. The Lord always spake, you know, through the prophets, man. You know? So you have the prophets out here letting you know, man, hey, you know, rise ye and depart, you know, for this is not your rest. You know, the prophets letting you know that it's something greater to come after this, man. You know, turn back, serve the Lord, man, because the Lord is coming back, you know, to put that thump down, to lay his judgment down, man, upon the ones who's not, you know, doing the will of him. You know, this is Jeremiah chapter 1 and verse 9. It says, the Lord had put forth his hand and touched my mouth. And the Lord said unto me, behold, I have put my words in thy mouth. You know, so when the prophets are out here, you know, telling you certain events that's going to take place, you know, in the upcoming times, you know, we are not here speaking our words. These words from the Lord, man. You know, but the prophets are out here telling you these things so you can turn back to the Lord. That way, when these upcoming times, when these times get to rolling in, you know, you will be protected in that time. You know, because it's going to be like a time never seen before. It's going to get very bad out here. You know, and if you don't have the Lord on your side, you know, it's not going to be good for you. This is Zephaniah chapter 1 and verse 14. It says, the great day of the Lord is near. It is near, hasting greatly. Even the voice of the day of the Lord, the mighty man shall cry bitterly. So that's letting you know how bad it's going to be, man. You can look at the biggest bully in the hood, you know, that everybody's scared of. Hey, don't fuck with him, man. He liked it. Man, his ass is going to be looking for protection in that time, man. You know, he going to be crying, man. He ain't going to be so big then. You know? Verse 15, it say, that day is a day of wrath, a day of trouble, a day of distress, a day of wasteness, a day of desolation, a day of darkness and gloominess, a day of clouds and thick darkness, man. You know? So that day represents nothing but evil, man. Evil times. You know? But you have the prophets out here telling you, you know, turn back. You know? Come back to the Lord, man. Because that's the only way you're going to be able to be protected in these upcoming times is through the Lord. You know, you can't trust in your dirty ass 40, you know, these corner things, because these corner things are not going to save you. You know, it's better to trust in the Lord. The scriptures say, trust in the Lord with all thine heart. Lean not according to thy own understanding. That's how you're going to be destroyed. Lean according to thy own understanding, man. You know? But the prophets it's going to come upon a time to where we're not going to be given that warning anymore, man. You know? You don't hit that snooze button too long, man. You know? Once that alarm go off in the morning, you only got a few times to hit that snooze button before, you know, it's over with. The alarm is not coming back on. Likewise with the prophets, man. You keep hitting that snooze button, you know, thinking you got all the time in the world, you know, thinking that you know what's right and what's wrong, man. You're going to get left in the dark. You know, now is not the time to play. The scriptures say, seek ye the Lord while he may be found. You know? But, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Kakadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles, great millstone, who strive and taught us this truth. And peace, safety, and blessings to you brothers across four winds, pushing this truth and sincerity. Until next time, shalom.